Welcome, Internet, to the first edition of the Rubberduck Touchcast with two people. And today I'm going to see what we can do with the TauCeti Preset Engine, UDP messages and stuff like this with Stefan Bontley from LA, living in Italy.
Hey, I don't see a picture.
You don't see a picture, which is really weird.
So
Let me,
the
let
live
me
event will begin in a few moments.
Okay, which is weird because here it's
I hear you
working.
talking, I hear your audio.
Okay. So we
Just
have
figure,
two people watching. Oh, what does it say? There was like some
I,
kind of,
I'm one of those people watching.
yeah. So, but I can see it here clear as day, so that's kind of weird.
You can see YouTube? You're watching
Yes.
YouTube? Okay,
Yeah.
well then maybe it's just me.
So maybe one of the many
There we
viewers.
go. All right.
So
We are
maybe
live.
we are live in the internet, like the. Let me just turn myself down a little bit more, and so I can hear. Okay, so maybe some background about who Stefan is, who I am. Maybe some people already know, and what the idea of the stream is. Just so the idea, in a way, is to. I know. Okay, so first about me and Stefan. So Stefan is one of the reason basically behind a lot of the components or features in my TauCeti preset engine. So basically because one day on the Discord he just like wrote, hey, there's something I would like, or how does this work, and it was all the time like a really nice forth and back
Must have been
between.
like September, October last year, even.
Yeah, something like in this direction. Maybe I think a little bit earlier because I think in October we then met in Berlin.
Yeah. I came up to Berlin. Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically what happened. Like he wrote me, and it was like all the time. Yeah. So what about this feature? What about this feature? And also finding bugs, which is really great for me as the developing person to have someone who's using the system in different ways or maybe unintended ways, and also working a lot on yeah, making it their own, which is something I'm aiming forward to with the whole TauCeti Preset Engine compared to other systems, which are very tight package, which is also nice. But the TauCeti Preset Engine is like this concept of modularity to do whatever you want with it. And yeah, Stefan did this with ArTe, which is basically like a controller for the Unreal Engine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. It's a work in progress. It's been developing for a few years now, and since Corona, we've had a lot of free time, and I continue to develop it into something more, which is it's it's super useful, and I'm really excited to keep working with this.
It's great. So basically, it's sending and storing UDP. No, it's like what parts of Unreal are you controlling with this system?
Uh, you're asking me?
Yes, I'm
So
asking.
basically, UDP out to touch via OSC out DAT. Then it's coming into Unreal using a plugin developed by a gentleman. I believe he goes by Monsieur Gustave. You can find it on GitHub. Also, I think I included it in a little package if anybody is interested in having it after the talk.
Oh yeah.
But essentially, it just creates that connection, listening to a port across the network on a local computer, and you're able to take, float values pretty easily with close to no latency if you're smart about it. There is a little bit of a understanding of how the Unreal Engine works, and a lot of what I'm going to show you is done on the Unreal side as opposed to the touch side, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because of issues of latency and wanting to have like a clean frame rate as opposed to maybe like dropping frames somehow in the connection or however that's going to go.
It's like this saying, I'm gonna tell you a UDP joke, but you won't get it.
uh, I shouldn't be laughing at that, but I am. But yeah, and something else that I did find out though was uh, the fact that they don't like to run together on the same computer. Like I have never really tackled the issue of the in focus app. What deserves priority over the other, or how that relationship is even
Mm.
managed. So I just took the easy road and pulled my UI completely off of my render machine, and I'm sending everything over the network. So it turned out to be the solution.
So, and what part is Unreal playing in, or what kind of project is this geared towards? Because I think you told me something about a project for a virtual, like a virtual DJ gig, something like this.
Well, there's been talks about a virtual environment that we can live stream, and that's sort of like everybody's MO right now. So what really interested me was more of the photorealism aspect, and being able to stay in the realm of being an artist as opposed to a developer. A lot of the tools are almost designed to facilitate quicker workflows, and to make the pipeline just super straightforward and seamless. So I am currently using it to run a real-time environment that you can start to bring in scenes as you might in TouchDesigner, where you're switching through your visuals over the course of the show, as well as able to trigger certain sequences where you might it might be similar to an animation track in TouchDesigner.
Hmm.
So, and then also on top of that, the camera rig, and the camera rig is actually the heart of ArTe, more so than anything, and on how easy it is to create camera cuts, and you know, sequences where you're running a camera down a spline or a track of something, uh, and then just switching between the two. I have it closely integrated with a MIDI controller as well as TauCeti presets. You can see, well, actually, I don't know if you can see yet.
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
unaware what you can and can't see, but um, as you will see soon enough, is that the interface is fairly distributed with buttons. And that's because the interface belongs on a touchscreen. So ArTe operates on a full multi-touch monitor, and that's where it gets its full power. Because when I'm using this application for a show, I'm pressing buttons all over the place. And, you know, a lot of the development that came out of this didn't actually start with ArTe. I started playing around in Richard Burns' Simple Mixer, and you know that's where it originally came to fruition. Is me trying to get this reusable preset system ready so I could quickly create visual concepts or visual sequences in real time and just be able to reuse them in whatever scenario that I needed. You know, the idea of reusability is huge in my workflow. So I try not to make things that I can't use again.
Yeah, and that's also something I think was a talk during a workshop, because you showed me this workflow of having the button layout, the dashboard, basically inside of your FX, and
Hmm.
then like importing them and then just accessing the dashboard from your effect itself, and not like loading it in, which I found a really interesting approach. And for this reason, maybe we can, if you're still using this way, well, maybe let's have a talk later. And
I mean, I'd be happy to show you how I've integrated it into the mixer, but that is also a little bit of a conversation to be had as well, because, like you had just said, I've developed a method where I store a dashboard per visual or per post effect, and then inside of the mixer, I've made my own UI that uses a select comp to pull up each one of the dashboards as I call upon the visual. So I have it in tandem every time that I'm switching a layer bank. The preset dashboard automatically pops up with loaded presets that I've already defined off of the custom parameters.
well,
So
that's
yeah, and that's also another great story. I think. Yeah.
that's
Both you and Richard Burns said.
yeah. Just thinking maybe next time we can try to get Richard also into the boat. Take a look at hacking the simple mixer and making it simple again.
Oh gosh, so it isn't that simple. After I fixed all like the composition blending and the bank fading, it definitely went from like this nice, elegant, you know, linear workflow to spaghetti. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive into RT. I think maybe you can give us like a short demo of like
Okay. Is it on the screen now?
yeah, yeah, it's on the screen.
Okay, so we got a full setup here. All right. So this is I would say this is my show interface. This is not really anything that is specifically oriented to a set visual. This is how I manage the system. And I have, this is two different dashboards, and then there's a few other control panels involved. The channel controller is in the bottom right corner, which is uh, thanks to alphamoonbase once again, which is driving a few LFOs and a few speed chops. Um, Synced to the BPM and has a few extra parameters like multipliers that I can add on top, and then this is really where I pull my expressions from when I'm building my presets. So in the bottom left, there's a another or the first dashboard called sequences, and this is the UI that allows me to load and unload levels. And then within each level, I've granted myself 8 different sequences or animation tracks that I can trigger that directly correspond to that level. On the top is the big dashboard that sort of like has the overarching controls for the entire scene. The way that it really works right now is that you have to play an editor on the Unreal side. There is the connection needs to be made, and it's really not efficient as far as Unreal goes to have this working while you're just in the editor. And you're doing so many other processes that like it wants to be playing. So I've divided this up into, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. And I can just start going through them. So the red on the left side, that's really controlling. Actually, let's take a step back. Let's start with the top sort of orange brown boxes. These are all buttons, by the way. So when they're on the touch screen, I can just go ahead and press them as I see fit. The top row are all cameras. And these are cameras that I place in the scene as I am deciding what my looks are going to be. And I have a standard set of cameras that I do keep in every scene, and I just load that in as a template, so I never have to rebuild these cameras. They're just ready to go. On the left, the red buttons are facilitating the transitions of certain settings within those cameras. So the far left column is focal lengths. It's or field of view. So that's really going to zoom in and zoom out depending on how many seconds I want it to fade in between each. As well as right next to it is a blend column, and then this column is really going to tell you how long it's going to take for me to change from, let's say, my first spline camera to my second spline camera. And these are all happening on the Unreal side. If you were to look at the actual custom parameter component inside of Touch, it's very, very simple. You know, you're just utilizing.
Let's do it. Let's dive in. Show me that custom parameters.
So if we go ahead and click this control button down here, you're gonna come to the main area where I do a lot of my preset building. I have a bank over here, and I think at one point I bugged you to make a next button or a bank button, so I made my own. So I can sort of switch through my banks over here as I'm developing, and I keep them per page.
So that's like using already the bank feature of the dashboard, or is it?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's calling the bank.
Okay.
It's calling the next bank, and on the right is my main parameter storage system, and it's one component, and it has a collection of pages that are sort of turned on and turned off depending on what elements you have in your Unreal scene. So the current scene, I have cameras, I have scene settings, I have a post-processing page, I have lighting settings, I have custom parameters that work together in tandem with each level and each sequence. And then I have an options page that's really like telling you what, or opening dialogues and opening networks and opening parameters and then the coolest thing about Unreal is the scalability settings, and so I can easily set depending on what quality of machine I'm running on, I can set the settings lower or higher to get better results. So that's pretty much it. You know, like every time the scene is started up, the Unreal sends ArTe a message that tells the cameras that are in the scene, and it organizes them up for me. And I start going in here and building presets. You know, and a lot of the times I'll have my MIDI controller because I also use your MIDI mapper as well.
Yay.
So, yeah, I got alphamoonbase all over the place.
It's like now your brand soft locked. It's like you can't
Right.
use any other components for the rest of your life because you're bound to my components.
That's fine as me. You know, these really help the speed of building my presets. Like I'm when I'm locking down a look, you know, having the power to quickly manipulate these parameters without even building the preset is what I'm going for. And so I can build an entire lookup and then throw them in the preset fader, just pull each parameter inside here, you know, just dropping them in as I see fit, you know, whichever ones I want to build. And at that point, I'm coming over here. I have a little options that opens up all the settings up here, and I just go ahead and I go to record and I hit record, you know, and like at that point I know that I've got those presets set for that look and that scene. And you know, I did do a couple other things here myself. I don't know if you can tell, I added 2 buttons.
Yeah, add count to stack and fader options. I wonder why they look so different.
Yeah, well, fader options are pretty obvious, just the preset fader options. But actually, this doesn't work in this application. This is for the simple mixer integration. So
Okay.
so whenever I'm building in the simple mixer and I'm working on a look for that specific component, that visual component I built, I can quickly reference the one selected and load it into the preset.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
Because
nice.
there was a little bit of a holdup. I couldn't just drag and drop on a file that's already in perform mode.
Just saying your think your video switcher got kind of
Oh,
busted again.
I don't understand what's going on there. Anyways, well, cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the workflow here. I have a few sort of set up. I can kind of show you what it's looking like. At the top here, let's get rid of these because they look a little disturbing. Okay, so we're looking at this master intensity up here, and I've gone ahead and made a few presets just to kind of show you how it's working. Another thing I added to your dashboard was the quick select recall times. This is huge in the VJ world for me, at least. Whenever I'm running a show and I need to know, like, okay, I'm dropping this and this transition's happening in exactly 2 seconds. You know, like I can just quickly come over here and select the recall time, 20 seconds, 2 seconds, 0. And it takes a little bit longer time to come over here and type one in, or if you're not getting like a precise value on the slider over here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally get that. That's a really nice idea. Maybe also might be interesting to be able to define a BPM value outside, and then
yeah,
just be like, okay, transition in 1 beat or transition in 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats, half beat. And then just like take, for example, a median and feed the BPM from the median into the master BPM for the selector. Dang, that's a great idea.
I'm just gonna give you a whole slew of ideas. You can put it on my wish list.
Yeah, do that.
First is a hashtag, TauCeti presets. Yeah, so I think that that's pretty much the heart of it. But let me just show you how this is working. If you guys can just keep an eye on. I mean, it's nothing new to you, but to the viewers, they might be interested in seeing what's going on here. So, oh no, you know what? I don't think I imported. Technical difficulties. So this is how you would import presets, by the way, if you... Oh. Let's do clear presets, import presets.
Yeah, so this is just like he's saying, hey, there are like 1 or 2 presets which seem to have no values.
I wanted to talk to you about that, actually. I like keeping a blank preset at this moment because I actually haven't figured out the exact workflow to get the presets to actually delete without deleting the actual preset itself. And so what I end up doing is, like, if I come over here, it'll regularly will sometimes delete the whole preset or just delete it from the page.
Okay.
And so my workaround is to come over here and just map a blank preset.
Yeah, that's basically the way to how it works. It's like you can just if you scroll to the bottom, you will see the blank page.
Yeah, but I can't always select that. That's another thing.
Oh, you can't.
Whoa. I just had a technical difficulty. You still with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just looking at your screen, so.
Okay, can you, did you see any difference in anything? I think I have it all switched over correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You know, believe it or not, the connection isn't really 100% stable. I've actually run an Unreal to Touch setup for probably 3 or 4 hours straight without having it crash, but you know, Unreal is always developing, and I'm actually trying to push to stay on the edge of like what is ready and what is available. So a lot of the times I'm bringing in components that aren't necessarily finished.
I see. Yeah, that's like a game with the file. In the end, it's probably good to have like the game version, I play around with it, and the actual finished product. It's, for example, when I work with TouchDesigner, I really often um, work with one version, and like when I have the feeling, okay, this version is running nicely, it's good, because for example, I think it was like 101730, something like in this direction, so like a really old version. I was using that till the release of the 2020 series. because it was like, yeah, it's like no problems to
True. Why break something that's working,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And then it was like with the 20,000 version, there were some components which were really necessary in a way. So then I jumped the ship. But right now I'm again like just basically staying on the 2080 because it's like it's working. It's like no big bugs or anything except the web client that, which is a piece of shit. But yeah, it's really not great. But yeah. So, what was the technical difficulty you had?
uh, Unreal crashed.
Ah,
So
okay,
I
okay.
had to restart it. So I went ahead. I'm just like rebuilding this effect here real quick. I still have the issue of trying to use the wrong keyboard like that again. Okay, so there's that. Then we can come over here, and then we go -5, and then we can go there, and we'll do rand2, and then now we'll come over here, and drag this guy on, multiply him by 100, use the right keyboard.
Yeah. That's basic. By the way, also something I wanted to talk with you about is instead of changing the range of the parameter, so of the LFO driver, of the chop driver. So right now we're using the by 100, but for example, what would happen if, or how would you solve the issue in a way if you wanted to go from 50 to 80? Just
So basically at the moment if I want to do any sort of expression transitions, I have to store a preset. I can't go directly into the parameter and just do that Python expression adjustment, because there will be a glitch. You know, like
yeah.
there's no smooth transition between the two. So my solution is to in my channel driver down in the bottom, I just have a counter chop that's going 1 0 1 0, like flip flop, between two different patterns. And what it's doing is it's just filtering over to the next pattern. So that's essentially making a smooth transition between different exponential multipliers between my parameters. And what I'm doing is I'm storing that exponential parameter inside, or the exponential multiplier inside the preset. So at the moment, since I have it set to 0, the recall time set to 0, it's snapping over. But this is something that I've just come to terms with. I have to be careful on some parameters when I'm building presets, because some parameters want to snap and some parameters want to fade. And if I'm doing them at the wrong time, it's gonna have a little bit of a weird look. So I try and stay super conscious about the decisions I make whenever I'm making these. But something that I have been doing whenever I've been building my little one-liners, my catchy one-liners, is I created just a text stat, and I work on building up and I haven't done it so much with this. This is an older version, but this would be a template, and I would come here and I would just, select a line of whatever parameter I need, and then I'd start coming over here. And I'm also using the wrong keyboard again. I just come over here, paste it in this, and I'd start building out an expression that I think might go well there. And then if I really, really wanted to throw it in like during a live show, I would make sure to paste it and just hit enter right on the beat. But the idea is that I would have this all pre-configured before the actual event, because during the event, all I care about doing is button mashing and enjoying myself. All this is pre-production work for me. Okay. Yeah, you're talking about the tweener. I took a look at it actually, um, but I don't. As someone who's not a programmer, it's actually a little bit, it's a little bit daunting. When I look at it, I'm like, ooh, I gotta code something.
Yeah.
Like that would be my only like not non-interest in the situation here is just because uh everything I do I try to avoid the coding aspect of
Yeah,
it.
but that's one of the nice things, at least I think, about the tweener is like it's still a one-liner. It's like one line of code with to fade to a different value. But what I meant is like you don't even need to use the tweener because you already have like the preset engine inside. So in theory, it would be possible to create a expression, a Python expression, and then without a preset to tell the whole system to like fade to the new expression.
Uh-huh.
Just
Yeah, but in a way, how would that help during a show?
mm, not a lot.
How would that be useful for me? Like, um, at that point, I might as well just be storing individual presets and use your sequencer.
Mm, mm.
Like isn't that literally doing the same thing?
Mm, but you still need. Mm, sorry for eating.
You need the preset. You need the actual preset for it to.
For the sequencer, yeah, and again, it's all glitch. Mm, so, but what I suggest basically is to create something. So to rework the bottom right section, like the LFO driver, in a way where
Okay.
no longer like drag and dropping the channel operators, but you're actually using a component with a drag and drop script, with a drop script, and then instead of like um, just setting the expression, you then use the already existing and running preset engine to fade to the expression. Scusi.
Okay, I see it. As I am a visual learner, I would do better seeing this like happening.
Yeah, just thinking. Maybe when we sort of maybe let me just write this down here at some kind of online notepad or something. Rapid tables. Fading expressions on drop. So maybe that's something we can do today after we had like the complete tour of your system. And then
laggy right now.
So like you're using it with a game controller right now.
With an Xbox controller at the moment.
It's the best controller out there, so no shame in that.
You know, this is actually how I, because I use a spawning camera system. I use a CSV file to import all of my static cams inside of Unreal. So I actually use this method to figure out the camera positions. And I love it. You know, it makes it so much more enjoyable. I don't know if you can even see on my screen, but let's see.
Yeah, we can see it.
Huh? You want me to bring that back up?
Yeah. Okay, now we can see the camera.
But you can't really see the parameters. So in the bottom left corner, I have camera position, camera rotation, focal length, aperture, and focal distance. And I capture those settings when I need or when I'm trying to go for a look. And then I'll just put those numbers into a data table, and then I'll just import the data table and have it just spawn these cameras. And I actually don't use the fly cam so much. I would like to use them more, but you know, like you don't really get the smooth movements that you're looking for everywhere. It's not that bad, to be honest. I'll still use it. So yeah, I don't know. Like I can just kind of click through the cameras real quick. So they have an orbit cam. Let me go ahead and trigger a scene element. So, and this, by the way, this I included a blueprint to give you that it's like a geo-transform blueprint. So it'll allow you see this moving texture map sphere. It essentially allows you to control that. And so like pretty much I have my MIDI controller right now. Let's see if I can show you. Like I'm using my MIDI controller to sort of control this, but I can easily come through and oops, I zoomed too far in.
And are you sending the MIDI into Unreal or are you sending it into TouchDesigner?
So the MIDI is going into Touch, and then it's going from one computer into the next, and that's running Unreal. And then I'm bringing that out of Unreal back into the laptop to be streamed out. I can actually live stream directly out of my the main machine while Unreal is running, as long as the Unreal is still the app in focus. So I can upload an Unreal feed to Twitch, or I can take a spout sharing into Touch from Unreal and then upload to Twitch. You know, so there's a lot of different routes to take. But the reason I have it in this setup is because I'm quickly switching from the Unreal application to the Touch application, which is on two separate machines. So just to kind of keep it all sort of like in one output, you know, I have it going between both computers like twice. But even so, on a local network, it's not so bad. So back to the Touch layout, and it's still freaking out. There's probably some sort of noise in between the connection that I just didn't care to. But so anyway, so like back to the triggering, so I can quickly go to between each camera and You know, these are just cameras that I have all set up. And what I do have is a master control for a lot of these. So I'm basically able to change between cameras, but it's still holding the same focal view value or focal length value. So I'm not going to get those glitches that you would see if those cameras weren't really aligned. Like I've got my exposures aligned between each camera, and you know, so there is a continuity involved with the setup, all built off of the preset engine. They're just calling the same parameters, and inside of Unreal, they're keeping that consistency. Um, so yeah, like I think that this is sort of like a pretty good show of the control level, and you know I have like control of the sky. And let me go back to the actual. There we go. You know, control of the sky, light, the time of day. We can drop that to get some good shadows. And if we go back into the presets, I don't have it selected right now, but like I have the sun rotation set on a preset. So I can place the sun around the space, and you know, like if I wanted to, I can start to build using your sequencer, you know, just something that goes to the beat. That's, you know, just using one parameter and just jumping around between the different levels. I've got fog. Let's see, here's a higher fog setting.
Oh, this volumetric shadows.
Yeah, so, oh, and right now we're using the new sky atmosphere from Unreal Engine, which is dope.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the future. We're not even getting into a lot of the parameters that, here, I'll put the sun on rotate for us so you can get some sort of cool looks here. But I've got, you know, right now I've got Spotify running in the background. Okay, so you see these artifacts that are happening? So this is something that naturally happens using the workflow that I have. I'm running off of a non-ray tracing graphics card for one. So that's probably one of the downfalls to this approach. But I think there's a way to pre-calculate these the illumination at a farther extent beyond the screen, but then you're starting to take in some of the extra processing power. At the moment, right now, I'm not too concerned about it. You know,
I mean, what happens now if you increase the speed of the rotation? Then that looks trippy AF.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And to be honest, I love TouchDesigner, but it would take me so long to get to this level. You know, like, and I was feeling that I was losing my artistic approach to a lot of the content developing just by the technical aspects that, you know, that I'm interested in, and I'm into it. But as far as keeping a good consistency of, you know, creation and development. You know, this seemed to work out really well for me.
So would you say that Unreal is the better artistic tool, or
Absolutely.
okay?
No, actually, I take that back. I have a lot easier time making, you know, quick visuals in Touch. I have a lot harder time making them feel complete in Unreal. But whenever I can achieve that completeness, whenever I can to really nail in the look, there's just it's not questionable, to be honest. I will always use touch as my control interface and in creative development for the avant-garde looks or techno events or a lot of 2D texture manipulation. But as far as like working in a 3D environment, which is where I come from, an architecture background, and this I just feel like the outlet is so much more. You know,
Oh, sorry.
I get a lot more from it. I do love my TouchDesigner family though, and I will never stop.
Don't stop believing. No. But are you using the sequencer right now, or are you just pressing
No,
buttons?
these are all just pressing buttons. I actually don't even know what I just hit. I had the sunrise or the time of day on move. So, yeah, and I just think that when I'm creating content, this is where it's at. Like the components are pre-built, like I don't have to worry about rebuilding it. I just have to put in my geometries, apply my texture mapping, and then go.
But could you now, in theory, bring in like a spout stream from Touch as a texture in Unreal?
Yes. I use specifically NDI, preferably because it includes the alpha channel. I do think that Spout may have a little bit of an edge on a local machine as far as texture sharing goes.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that because I haven't done the test, but like stress test. But from what I've experienced is I get better results on using Spout texture sharing. And then if I'm going across the network, NDI. But in the off case that I do want an alpha channel in my texture sharing, I will use NDI.
But
And
I
let me
think
just go ahead and show you.
Spout should I think Spout also gives out the alpha channel.
It does, but the plugin for Unreal does not support it, and I'm not going to develop it.
I see. Okay, so it's the Unreal reason.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think a lot of video game developers are using texture sharing. They're building their animations and textures inside the engine and packaging it up for a game. I do have it all integrated in the off chance that this needs to happen. You don't see it on the interface right now because if I have no NDI or spout elements in my scene, it hides the page. The page won't show up. So originally I was working on developing this for client, and they brought to me the fact that you've got so many buttons, but like we don't need them all, like I don't want to see all these if I'm not using them. And I was like, okay, well I'll just hide them if the elements aren't in the scene.
Typical client, right?
Do you want to take a look at the Unreal
Yes.
file?
All of it.
Okay. So let's go over here. All right, so we still got.
We're back in Touch.
We're back at Touch because of the crazy noise happening on my computer. Let's find a good camera to get to. Oh, it's because of my speed. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll put the time of day up. A little bit more exposure.
Just one thing, when I see UPD base, just something I talked all the time about UDP because I thought like this whole UDP thing was essential to the controller, and just when you said yeah but put UPD in, and I was like wait what? I was putting it in all the time.
So yeah, that relationship is so close, and I didn't catch it either. Up Deco is sort of the company I'm developing right now. It stands for Unified Perspective Decorations. It's sort of like a personal thing that I've been working on, but yeah, it closely resembles the communication protocol. I would say.
Just
So anyways,
just say it's wanted.
it's wanted. So if you look in the Unreal scene or the Unreal editor, this is also running while my editor is open. So if you see that if I'm changing the UI, the viewport is going to freeze up. I do run the standalone version whenever I'm doing a show because the frame rate holds higher when it's playing on its standalone game. But for the sake of just working and making cool stuff, I just simulate in the active viewport, which is what you're seeing below or to the left. So for those that are not familiar with the interface, you've got a bunch of different options to readjust the UI, and you can move things from bay to bay, and you've got tabs up here. I'm going to refrain from moving bays around just because I've noticed that it sometimes screws with the feed and causes crashes. But in the far left, you have the outliner, which is everything that's contained within the scene. On the bottom left, you have the content browser, which is sort of where you keep all of the elements inside the engine. And it's one thing that I don't like about Unreal is that you have to carry around all of the assets in every single project. That's something that Touch does very well, is just like accessing folders inside of your computer, and I appreciate that workflow a little bit more. But on this bay on the right, normally I have my details panel. So anytime you select one of these elements, you get all of the details included with that component inside your scene. And lastly, and probably most importantly for the whole ArTe process, is using your levels accordingly. So the easiest way to think about this is each one of these is like a component in TouchDesigner, and then you're using a composite, or let's say they each have a render out, and like they each hold a geometry and a camera or whatever. It's like something you can put on a viewport. So this would be the collection of components, and you would just blend them all together. And so this has each one of these is a level.
You're back in Touch.
I'm back in Touch. Each one of these is a level, and it contains a portion of what you see in the outliner. I don't know if I can actually turn off these eyeballs when it's playing. I don't think so. So for instance, I have a spawn cameras level, and it has all of my spawn cameras in that level. And then I have a spline camera level, and it has all of the spline cameras that I'm using for that level. And it lives in a different place than what is called the persistent level, which is your root level. It's the level that's always loaded. And so I have a lot of the ArTe blueprint functionality in the persistent level that communicates to touch. And then any scene I want to load in has its own level. And so I have one here that says 0608 alphamoonbase.berlin. And so what this level contains is the sphere that you see rotating. And then there's 3 white spheres, little white spheres, right, like around in the scene as well. Those are also in the scene. These are a light source. I haven't showed you the lighting yet, and we just haven't got to it. It might not come up, but you know, each one of these can be loaded and unloaded. So if I was to go back over to the touch interface and you look at the bottom left corner and the sequences tab, pay attention to the top left screen. If I hit level 2, if there was a level 2 that I have predefined, it would unload level 1, which is the sphere, and load level 2. So when I hit this button, you'll see that that scene disappears and it unloads from the engine. So it's not processing anymore. As soon as I want to, you know, use that level again, I'll just turn it back on. And that is really utilizing the levels in Unreal Engine, and they make it super easy. It's only a few nodes, and we can actually take a look at it here. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Just wondering, is it still Unreal Engine 4 or is this already Unreal
Yes. Engine? It's still in Unreal Engine 4.
3, I mean 3, Unreal. So it's Unreal Engine 4, not Unreal Engine 3.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we're gonna go look in the Touch app, here's like the main window, the root folder. We go into my OSC out folder, and I'm taking all of the parameters, and these are all the parameters currently I have feeding into Unreal. Let's see. Can I scroll through this?
You can press like the middle mouse button and then...
Okay, so it's at its level, but you can see that all those parameters, after getting routed a bit, you know, I'm choosing what parameters to send over. I'm doing a little bit of smoothing, and then I have them ready to go out. And essentially, it's just pulling from a chop execute and OSC out.
Okay, so you're not using the OSC shop, but you're sending it manually, basically.
So this is the script right here, sending out a touch using an OSC DAT. And then if we go back over to Unreal, what you see is when you begin when you begin the editor, or the play-in editor, you are binding the plugin, which exists. When you install the plugin, it gives you developed components that you can easily add into your blueprints. And so I'm taking this OSC receiver, and when the scene starts, it activates this event. And this event is listening to the OSC port, and it's looking for the name of the channel name that is outputting from touch. So I have a corresponding channel name that is level inside of touch that is sending out information. Now it hasn't changed it hasn't sent any new data yet. So it's not actually doing anything until the new data comes in, because it's just waiting for the message. And so what I'm doing is I have an array of levels that I have predefined, and we can just go ahead and let's do this, this. So if I go to my scene changer, I keep my, I have a just
we
an
are
array.
at touch again.
Okay. Well, next time, next talk, that technical difficulty will be solved. For now, I just rely on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's lucky we are in real time here, basically using parsecs. So
yeah, that's great. So we have just names. It's just like an array of names, essentially strings. And Unreal handles it differently. They give proprietary naming to certain data types. And I mean, I don't use names in Touch. I just use strings. And, I just that works. And so for here, we're using a list of names, and then what it's doing is it's checking to see if the name, if you look over here in the levels, it says the name is right here. That's the name of the level. So when I send the data from Touch, which is just an integer, that's either level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is int 1, int 2, int 3, all on this level parameter. It's just coming over here in Unreal, and it's receiving that information. And when it changes, at first what it does is it stores the last level, and then it updates the current
back
level.
in Touch again.
So it stores the last level, and then it updates the current level, and then it unloads the last level, and then it loads the new level. So and I think I put a blend in there. I've been meaning to put a blend. There's certain levels that are actually heavier computational wise to load, and the workaround that I do is that it doesn't actually hold up the engine, which is great. What it does is it stalls the load. It processes that and the load before it'll actually appear. So I just keep the camera away from the view, and then it doesn't hang up, and it's fine. Or the other idea is to fade. In Unreal, they use what's called widgets to give you your heads-up display. And I can essentially just fade in a black screen, do the transition, and come right out very easily without any issues. And something to note with Unreal is that you need to have a player character for it to function correctly.
Yeah, that's something I realized when I started to try to get into Unreal, or also Unity is like this concept of like you have the game controller and you just sit there and you're just like, dude, I just want to click a button. That's all I want to do. No, you have to do, and you have to get your damn game controller. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I can't be bothered with figuring out why. I just want it to work. It's a little much, but yeah, I mean, that's why I got people like you who are amazing, and you've made this cool component, or this cool addition to Touch that has really been holding a lot of people back, I believe. Like the Touch has this threshold you must cross before you can really use it efficiently
Yeah.
as a creative outlet. And there's definitely opportunities to make cool things, but a lot of the times what ends up happening is you make one thing and then you have to remake it again, or nothing is set up for reusability. I'm sort of like playing with my lighting looks.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on the lighting aspect a little bit. I have these two bays over here that's really controlling all the lighting colors of what we see is going on. So now you can see those little orbs illuminating the space. Let's go aqua, red, and yellow. This looks like Mars.
Ooh,
Whoa.
what's that? But I really like this fog feedback, if like glitch with the light when you have like this light change.
The fade because of the moving
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it only happens on the edge condition because that's like the moment where the pixels are trying to figure out what the hell is going on with
Yeah.
themselves. You know,
So
Unreal 5 is supposed to fix this situation, right? They're offering real-time global illumination and unlimited poly count. So if your global illumination is truly real time, as soon as that pixel hits the screen, it's
yeah,
perfect.
but I'm really 100% sure that this real-time global illumination is limited to one light source. I
No.
100%.
How do you know?
So you see that there is like this moment. So they're walking outside, and so there is the sun. It's like always the sun. It's the same light source. Okay, they are inside, but it's still like one light source. So in the demo, and then she goes inside. So she goes inside, and like the sun basically fades out, and she illuminates her light, which is then the new light source for the global illumination. And that's like, yeah, okay, that's okay because she's going inside. But there's like this one really interesting coincidence in the demo where there's like the stuff falling from the ceiling. And
Okay.
it's like because there's stuff falling from the ceiling, she kills off her light. So the moment the ceiling is open and the sun is illuminating the space again, she no longer has her light.
Where we still live in the world of magic tricks.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely. But this is something people have to keep in mind, especially with like Unreal Engine 5, because it's like you can do so much software as you want, but you're not gonna break the laws of physics, which is just like you have a finite amount of processing power you have to use, and so you can't just be like we just
true.
broke like we downloaded more RAM for your graphics card and now it's running faster, so we can basically now do 5. Except it's ray tracing, because when it's ray tracing then it's like a different story.
Well, how so? Like, do you think that because I skipped the RTX cards, the first gen RTX cards, because I wasn't sold on it when they first came out, and now I'm just waiting for the 3K series. But do you feel that it changes the game?
I think this will be the future. It's like not the near future. Right now, when I bought my PC, I bought an RTX 2080 because it was like basically it was more powerful than the 1080. So I was like, yeah. they want a new card, so I'm going with the 2080, and this was the only reason why I'm went with the RTX card. But when you look, for example, at Blender, who implement this denoising, AI denoising, powered basically by the RTX cards, then it starts to get really interesting because they use like this DLSS, and it's basically like you don't have to render the full image because the graphics card offers a trained AI model basically
Okay.
to denoise the image.
Well,
And
isn't that kind of what they're like proposing as like the solution in the real-time global illumination?
we will see.
Yeah,
What do you
it's
mean?
true.
Do you have a link for that? Because I don't know if they use it with Unreal Engine 5. It's so my reasoning, because of the way I think it will be just one light source for the global illumination, is just because of the video, because it was really suspicious that they were like switching out the light sources in really convenient situations.
I don't know. Like I like all the magic on the back end is so unsure. You know, they claim real time is real time, but then you find out that it's is it real time during simulation, but still pre-recorded, or you know, like there's so many variables for real time. You know, like, and what application are you even using real time? Like, how many applications are there for that advocate for real time use? You know, it's mainly the live events, installation art. So
Gaming.
the fact that they're saying that that PS5 demo is like truly real time is not. I don't buy it either. Like, there's always magic underneath the hood,
Yeah.
and you know, like even when I'm as a 3D artist, when I'm preparing my scenes, you know, like what you don't see, you don't know.
That's also something Stefan is currently working on, which is really nice. Is let me just check something because so
I actually think, and I don't want to tell anybody at Epic Games this, but I think that there's some sort of memory leak inside the sky atmosphere right now. You know, when I bring the fog in and when I unload the fog, or like when I pull the fog out of the scene, the calculations aren't dropping. They're not like unloading, and when I bring it back, I'm noticing like a few frame rate drop. So uh, the scene that we're seeing now is really utilizing the sky atmosphere, but I haven't had like the time to explore it. You know, as it continues, you know, Unreal is doing some cool stuff, but uh, back to the question you asked me earlier, if I would prefer Touch over Unreal. Like, I can't decide actually between either one.
that's also good. So I think I would like to smoke a cigarette, so maybe we can have like a short non-commercial break. What do you say? And then
Yeah,
afterwards we maybe can take a little dive into fading expressions, if you're interested.
yeah. Why not?
Okay.
I will. We'll enjoy a virtual smoke. I'll be in Italy, and you can be in Berlin.
So yeah, I will put just the stream, and so maybe you can do like some.
You're gonna keep the
Yeah,
Unreal
just
screen
the
on?
Unreal screen.
Okay. Let me just go ahead and. I don't know if you can. Well, we got my mic. Maybe I can put on some music that's audio reactive.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Voice meter potato.
Just thinking. Okay, so I got the HDMI in.
Can you hear my audio?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't sound great, but
I can move the mic.
yeah, but I think it's also because of Skype, which is like trying to compensate for background. So yeah, no. No,
No?
it
Okay.
doesn't sound good at all. Doesn't sound good.
We're just gonna cut that out.
Yeah.
Just stop right there.
So, yeah, I mean, we can just have like a nice, or maybe you just tell something about voice meter potato.
No. Did you see that? Was that on the
Yes.
screen?
Damn it! Damn it! Okay, so yeah, I'll be back in a minute. You show some nice stuff.
Ooh. Intermission.
Intermission. How's it going?
Oh no. I did say something I should have.
What did you say?
What?
What did you say?
Said that I might like Unreal more than TouchDesigner.
Ooh. So,
By the way, it's still live for that. But it is live, but.
Alrighty, I'm back, and no one's watching.
I'm watching.
Okay, this explains the one viewer. Just check something. Yeah, still no answer. Okay, so let's go into exporting. So just thinking, I should be able to, oh yeah, in theory I'm able to move the mouse. Whoops.
Mouse and click.
Morning. Yeah, I can't see the mouse right now, so
Oh,
yeah,
you can't.
maybe you can leave the, how is it called? Performance mode.
What's that?
Maybe you can leave performance mode.
Okay. Oh shoot.
Spot's dead.
Performance mode gone.
Huh.
Can you see the mouse?
That's,
See, I don't know how that works.
which is interesting because there were some moments where I was actually able to see it. So how do you have this interface laid out?
So this is coming in from the other computer. Let's see. I could probably close out of this too.
Ah,
Can you
yes,
see the other
now I can see the mouse. Okay, so
this is just one app. This is just the bringing all of those screens into one.
okay, so here's that. Okay, so here's video device in.
It's capture card from the other, and then that's the other screen on. Actually, that's this screen.
Okay. So I'm just wondering how I was able to interact with the, or maybe it's.
Well, it's the other. It's another application.
Okay.
So, it's taking the screen grab from the first monitor. So that screen grab node. What you trying to look for? Watch.
Trying to find the other TouchDesigner instance.
Okay, here, hold on. Let me have the mouse.
Oh,
There you go.
So that's the UE control. So let's have a look at where's the preset engine.
Utilities.
It's so organized.
Straight ahead.
Ah,
It's the gray box.
Alright, here's the preset faders. So now if we take a look at the EXT par fader, which is an old name, but still hold on. So yeah, so basically with this create fade, you can create your own fade. So this is basically the function which is used, which then later got exported basically to the tweener. But you can call this function, this create function, also from outside. And what you have to define basically is you just have to define a parameter and target value. So this is this end value and the time. And then you can give it a lot of so-called keyword arguments. And so, for example, you can change the type. You can say, okay, I don't want it to fade, but I want to snap. But also you can say, here you can edit the curve to be something other than linear or S-curve. It's interesting that it's still linear here. And so the ID doesn't matter, but this part here is really interesting. So which is quite interesting why I said, okay, but basically what you can do is, let me just check if the par fader, yeah, okay. So let's get back in here and let's create a text. So let's create a constant here as our target. So let's so we could do it in one line, but maybe that's not always the best idea. But what we can do here now is we can say at first our target parameter. Oh, okay. Ah, damn it. Where's the equal sign on your
keyword?
Yes, because
it's a shift and it's the plus sign. It's right next to the backspace, but not the plus sign.
What is going on?
Hold on. I can put in the equals. Oh, I can't. Yeah, okay, it's not shift. No shift.
OP. Oh my god. Okay, this is.
Is the keyboard just not working?
Oh no!
Whose idea was parsec?
Okay, that's rather interesting.
Let me just do a little spell check here for you.
Oops.
Gotcha. Oh shit.
Okay. Okay, let me just find the. It's like, what the heck? Why do you have such a weird keyboard layout? It's like.
Hey man, my keyboard's great.
Okay, so let's put in some. Where are they? Some. What is it called? Like the. Okay, you know what?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, I was noticing this. I was looking at your tweener and I was seeing how you were building this.
So this is basically, damn it, okay, so so it's not taking every.
It doesn't like shift.
No, not really. Yeah, but this could also be my keyboard because the keyboard is like I'm using now is a pretty cheap one. So now we say target mode is expression, and we say target expression.
You want me to throw the equals in there for you? I can be like a cameo equals provider.
So
Just swap in for the equal sign.
so yeah, okay. I will tell you when I need the equal. So yeah, I need like what's the name for this one? It's like parenthesis. I think it's yeah.
Yeah, I got that too. Just
Okay,
tell me
so
when
yeah, I
you
need a
insert.
parenthesis, please. Okay, so we just say absolute time dot seconds and closing. Okay, so and now what we can do is we can say par fader create fade and then we say okay target parameter and we want the okay, the value doesn't matter, so we can just put in 0 and the time should be like let's do 2 seconds. And now we say okay, mode equals.
Do those want to be int types or floats, or does it matter? Okay.
So now I need an equals. Yes.
Equals, got it.
And then we just say target underscore mode. So we could like just put all of this information in directly in one line, but just for us to have a better understanding mode. And then we say okay, expression equals
Target expression.
yeah, exactly, target expression. And then we close this off. So, and that's basically should be it in a way. So let's run the script. And we got an error, of course.
I don't think it's I think it's TauCeti.
No,
it's par fader.
See. Oh yeah. Who thought of this? That's bullshit. It's like the parent parameter is par fader, but the okay. So now if we observe the parameter here. And we got nothing.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. Absolute. Let's see if we get some errors here. Okay, so in theory.
Uh-oh, no errors. I hate that.
Yeah, that's worse than. Okay, so what happens if we set this one to 1?
I bet you it needs a float. Ah, there it goes.
Ah, right. Okay, so it needs to be a value different than the value it has. That's definitely an oversight. I mean, you learn something new every day, but so basically, because what's happening when you create the fade, it's checking if the value already
Yeah.
is the same value as you give it, even if the mode is expression. So in this case, that's just plain stupid. So that's the first step, basically. So I think we can just copy this one out and go somewhere else in the project. Just paste it here. So now if we change this to nope, 2. Okay, so now if we run script, it's like, that's some smooth fade. Okay, so what you can do now is when we work with, so we just create a container here, which would be like 50 by 50. We're going to enable drag and drop. And then, which interests us, is the on dropping into. And so for this, we can create a, so I think they're going to rework the system, and I built like a new system, but for dropping, I don't know, no, it's the other one. When dragging this. And okay, so drag script, let's remove this. And then we say, okay, our drag destination script is going to be text2. And so here, let's, because when doing the whole drag and drop thing, what's going to happen is there's like a variable called args. And let's just create another text here, call this one debug. So what we can do now is to find out what these args, these arguments are, we can just say op. So yeah, I need the parenthesis.
Parentheses? Yeah. What?
So debug.
Quotation mark.
Yeah, quotation mark, exactly. So I need another quotation mark. I have to find out where they are on the keyboard. And dot text equals, and now we can just say, oh yeah, I need an equal sign.
You want that parentheses gone?
Yeah, no, I wonder, yeah, exactly. And so we can just say args. And now we can, for example, here, drop this here. No drop contents for node. Okay, let me just take drop types. Let's just, oops. Just try this again. Oh, something happened. Let's just. Okay, so drop types, dropped operator. And we should be able to put in like par. No drop contents for node slash container.
So what are we trying to do here?
So basically what I would like to do is I'm dropping into so what I would like to do is catch, like when we use drag and drop here, and I would like to catch if we drop it into a parameter, because then we can get the parameter we are dropping into, and yeah, so, and then we can like assign or call this create fade operation, and assign it a value, assign it and let it fade into a specific expression, which for example could be an LFO running inside of this container. But for this we have to check. I have to get it to. So we don't need the drag script because that's not helping it. Oh, it seems like I spoke too soon. No drop contents. Okay, let me just for 1 second check the documentation here. Drag and drop. Drop script. Okay. Drop script. Let me just see. Bring a component, drops operators, for drop testing. Okay. This doesn't work sadly, so that kind of sucks. That I cannot drop this here.
It's very comforting to know that we're on the forefront of discovery.
Yeah, but like the drag and drop system is anyway like it's old. It's like stemming from the old times. That's why you have this weird arc situation.
Yeah.
Let me just see. No drop content.
I've actually never mastered the drag and drop scenario.
Yeah, it's drops operators if I drop destinations. I mean, that's more interesting. I don't know, have you used my drag and drop callback system?
Negative.
Okay, so is it okay if I open a browser?
I believe so.
Well, let's see. Oops.
Do you need me to confirm?
So let's close this and open this and go to derivative.ca.
I'm gonna have to use this parsec for my live streaming with my buddy.
Yeah, I have the feeling it's really great. And let's say TeamViewer, for example.
Yeah, there's a little bit of latency involved there. I know that for a fact.
Well, it's like here it's so smooth. Drag, drop.
Yeah, to be honest, like I'm like listening to you talk while you type, and it's pretty much on point. I wouldn't even say there's a second delay.
I think there might be like there's definitely one kind of delay because of my drop callbacks here.
I got a special folder for you. Let me place it.
Castle Crushers.
Actually, no, I can't place it because it's on a different machine, so we can just put it.
Put it on the desktop maybe. So duck, and extract here. So there are the callbacks, and there you have the drag and drop callbacks. So let's go back to TouchDesigner. Is it here? No, it's here. Ah, it's the wrong button. Add. So the way this one works is it takes a lot of work off you about all these things. So basically you cut it and put it in the component you want to take care of. So then you just press the init button, and then we'll create this this callback component here. And here you can already see there's like on OP drop, top drop, chop drop, that drop, comp drop, sub drop, and par drop, which is what we want. So basically what we can now do is
do something to the LFO every time.
And so let's just go one level up, and let's just copy the script here, so we don't have to write it from the beginning. And we just paste this in. So basically what we say, okay, our target parameter is just parameter. We already have this. The target mode expression we also have. And the only thing we now have to do is the expression. So what we're going to do is we're just going to set the expression to OP. Then we put in, I think I saw them already somewhere. It's like this Swifty, yeah, like.
What you need?
Oh, you don't have the Ü and Ä. Okay.
What?
It's like this weird German alphabetical, like the A with the two dots. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we definitely don't have that.
And I think I might have found the, or maybe not. I found the parentheses, quotation marks, perfect. Yeah, it's on my app.
Okay. Yeah, my girlfriend has a Croatian
Oh,
keyboard, and they have like 6 more letters,
yeah.
than what I'm used to.
Let me just. Okay, now it starts to make sense. Okay, so we want to set the expression to point to our LFO here. So
So what is this? What is this empty?
this
Yeah,
one.
right there. What's going
So
on there?
with this one, we can now use the format function. So we could, in theory, like
Okay.
use the plus operator, but this would like destroy the, in a way, destroy the readability, because you would like take your
So with an op call, you can use the format function?
no, because this one right now is, but in theory, yes. But this one right now is just a string. We are passing to the create fade to create this expression. So we
Yeah.
can, in theory, also print it out. And what we can now do is we can fill in into these Swifties. We can fill in something like path. And
Okay.
then we can say dot, because a string is still an object, like an OP or anything. So you can put in a dot, and then you can call a function of the string object, and it's format with an M. Damn it. And what we can now do is we can say, okay, I want the path, which we defined here with the Swifties. And we can say, okay, I want, where's the equals sign? I think I had it. Yeah, but I need
Got
the
it.
equals. And now, for example, I could just like put in la la, and now it would give me OP bracket la la. Yeah.
First
So, but what we're going to do instead is we're going to say OP LFO1 and dot path. So this one basically now creates a completely independently from where in the network we are, creates an expression pointing at channel 0 of our OP path. So let's just print this out. So because it's a string, so for stuff like this, we can use an evaluate. With the evaluate dot, you can just put in any Python expression, and it will give you the result of this. So when we put this in, you can see now that we get OP container 1. And okay, I forgot something. But it will give us this expression, which we then, in theory, could, for example, right now, just take and copy into a, so let's take a level. So now we could put this one in, but it will have an error because we are missing the quotation marks here.
Yeah.
Which is not a problem at all. So, and it wouldn't matter where in the project we are, because we have this absolute path slash container1 slash LFO. So
All right, and those path links don't really matter these days, right? Like the amount of characters in the path
No,
name?
that's totally fine. Um, so
Okay.
let's put this one in here because otherwise we would get an error. Okay, so what we're doing now is we take a parameter, we drop onto our container one and create a specific expression pointing at channel 0 of our LFO1 inside of container 1. So let's move up. Now we have this one here, and maybe let's set it to 0. And now we activate this container here, and we take this value 0, and we drop it onto here, and we are fading to our LFO.
Wow.
So what we can now do is we just customize our component here, and like, okay, so here we create set the type, maybe set the frequency.
What? I didn't know you could do this.
That's one of the best features ever, and no one talks about it. It's like nowhere in the documentation or something, and I'm just like,
What?
yeah, of
That's
course
amazing.
you can do
It
that.
names it. Does it set the range for
Yes,
you?
it does everything. It's like, so you
Oh
can
my
see
God.
here, it like has, now I can set this one to ramp, but now
Wow.
comes the real fun part, because now we can just like copy this container.
Okay.
We can just, so maybe let's use something which is more clear. So maybe let's use a circle top here. Okay, so now we have our container 2. We set this one to like a triangle, make it really slow. We set this one to a sine, and we make it really fast. And maybe let's set this one to a pulse and make it also very fast. Okay, so we select all of them. No, that was the wrong button. And we activate the viewer, and now we let's take the radius here, and we drop this one in, and you see now it's running the container 1 LFO1, and now I drop this one in here. Now it's fading over to container 2 LFO2, which is like the triangle. We can even do it here. Now it's like going crazy. And the nice thing about this one is also when you have this tuple style here, is when you grab this one, it will execute the drop script for both parameters in this tuple. So I can even drop this one in here, and now they are going crazy.
And does it fade? And you put the create fade in between so it doesn't snap, but it takes
like,
one.
so we can go back here, and it fades into this expression, and then we do this one, and it fades into this expression.
This is
I
great.
know.
So if this was to reflect back on the channel controller, so you're saying that I should almost go the other way around, and instead of dropping my parameters into the expression slide, I should drop the parameter into, let's say, a bank of these containers.
I'm afraid that's the way to go right now, because as we just discovered, the problem is that you cannot detect when you're dropping a container onto a parameter. So it is the only way to go right now. But now comes the real interesting part, at least, or the even more interesting part is because we can now define a, let's say, a float and give it two values and give it the range parameter. And we say, okay, this one goes to 1 to 0, but let's just, okay, just for simplicity, we're going to use cloning. So this one is your clone master. So now we can set this one to 0.2, 0.4, and also let's set them both to the same value so it's clear where I'm going with this. Ramp. Okay, so what we could do now is we could go inside here and we could use a math chop, but now imagine there are more than one parameter referencing the same driver, which is just like the base driver. So what we actually want is we want to have like every parameter referencing the driver with its own range. And we can do this pretty easily using the TDU remap function, which is optimized, so it's really, really fast. And the way it works is, so TDU.remap, and then we give it like the value, we give it the range, and we give it where we want to go. So like 1 to 100, which is basically the same as the same function as you will get with using the math chop with the rerange, like from 1 to 0 to 2 to 5, stuff like this. And we can put this in our expression, no problem. So we put in TDU remap, and then we say, okay, our value is still our driver here, but then we say, okay, from 0 to 1, and then we say, okay, where are they? I think they're here. And now we can write in here, we can say to min, to max,
You have a renegade quotation mark.
where?
Wait, do you need? Oh wait, never mind. Sorry, it's encompassing the whole
Yeah,
TDU
exactly.
remap
It's
function.
like, so
Yeah, I see it.
what we can now do is we can feed in here and say to min equals equal sign, please. Parent part dot what do we call it? Range range 1 dot eval. I like by now to just use the eval everywhere where I can. And we say to max equals, I need an equal sign, but I can just
Alright.
it's okay. You
I'm like processing your ideas here into my workflow as you're doing it.
Dot par range 2 dot evaluate. Oops. Okay, so let's see if this still doesn't spit out an error. I would like it to. So let's set this bad boy here back to 1. Now we drop this one in here. And we get an error, of course. Name value is not, of course, because I still have the Excel. Okay, let's try it again. Let's remove the script errors here, and let's grab this radius.
Give you the debug at least.
Yeah.
Maybe it still has the expression stored.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's just print out.
Part of me feels like I'm watching a full screen YouTube video, and then I realize it's actually you on my
Happening.
computer.
Like I can't do. It's just like right clicking right now.
Really?
It's super weird.
What are you trying to
Move around like at all.
do? Anything,
Yeah.
anything.
Let's see. Yeah,
Do you want to restart Parsec?
No, okay. I think it like just got confused with my shift key. So let's see. Let's drop this in here. TDE remap OP container 1 LFO1 0 to 1.
Maybe the parentheses or the quotation type, does it need to be single or is double okay?
No, that's okay because otherwise it would escape. It's rather weird. There's like nothing happening.
So then it's in the last line in the script then, if you're printing out that.
So
Oh, you didn't even change
yeah,
that.
I mean, let's check if the expression is working. It's like probably one of the first things if the expression is in any way legal. Yeah, okay, so the expression is legal. That's not the reason. What's the reason here?
Wow, so you can use the TD remap directly in your
You got it.
your Python. Wow. I guess that makes sense, but
Are we paused or something? Create failed target. Ah, yeah, okay. That's like, it's the stupidest thing ever. but it's because I'm like, please move to please move to because I'm checking the value, and the value for the parameter was 1, and so it just didn't execute. Okay, but now you can see, okay, we're using it directly inside, and we can just like change the range here, and it will not affect the circle itself. And so here we have the second one. So let's move over here. And you see now it's moving from 0.2 to 0.4. And now if we activate this one here again and drop them in here, now they're going from 0 to 1. And I again can just like change this. So I can changing the all of this stuff here still affects everything. But let's, for example, imagine we have several components which work in a different range of values. So, for example, you have your camera, and the camera is running in a range from 200 to 300. And let's imagine we have the color values which run in a value between 0 and 1. And then let's imagine we have, I don't know, like a rotation of some texture running from 0 to 360. And so to all give them the same value, basically, just so instead of them all referencing their own driver, which you then have to take care of, and which clutters your, basically completely clutters your UI, we could just create like, maybe let's give this one a, so make it like this, and now we're like, hey, okay, but I want also the rotation to be on the same beat as my scaling. So what we can do here is now we can put in here the 360 and drop the rotation on this one. So now the rotation is in sync with our radius, and we can even like changing the style affects both of them. So this one is like kind of dumb, and also like changing the frequency affects both of them. And so also let's say, yeah, let's go with color. Or maybe like the border width, which is like.
So how would you then go about storing that in a preset then?
I mean, that's like, it's an expression, so you can already store it in a preset. That's not a problem at all. So.
Well, if you're using the same parameters and you're, what does it look like in the circle? Oh, because you're using the remap function within the expression.
Exactly. This is like the idea. So let's put in the border width here, and now it's like. So what we can do now is, in theory, we could like go to the preset engine, and I mean we could even going even crazier. We could also say TauCeti A. So an add par, give me a P to stack, and then we just say okay. So and now if we just can just use.
There's a button, there's a page layout utilities up at the top.
It's like here, no. Oh bother. You mean like, okay, so so let's go to utilities. Let's just view this one here and go to top wheel. So let's reset all of them here. This, and let's clear the stack here. So just to show you what I mean by this is, so we just take this one and it automatically adds this parameter now to the stack and assigns it this this new function. So then we add this one and maybe set this one back to 180. Oops. So let's put this one in here, and now we have the rotation also with the new preset, and then we just store a preset like testing funny stuff. Now we just hit store, and so just let's deactivate all of this and let's go for our preset, and now we have the referencing of the driver.
That's nice.
And basically it's just it's really like this 2 lines of code. So I can understand that it's a little bit, might be a little bit like, especially the whole formatting thing.
I mean, that's okay. It's just understanding the you know, the extents of each function that you've built and how to properly use them.
It's especially with the create fade. It's like it's very powerful basically, because this way you can automate the system on your own in a sweet way. But yeah, like with this thing here already, you're just like, go for it.
Right. Yeah, and I was thinking, like, say, like, if I wanted to, I mean, what's the point of having the other containers, I guess? You would set up a different type.
Yeah.
I guess one for speed, one for an LFO, and that's about it, right?
That's up to you basically. So then you have like a sign, and so basically maybe
Oh, because those right there hold the range is the only thing that differs.
range.
So you would set up those specific parameters per, and then I would be able to hold all of the values or all the ranges in each type.
But like frequency, amplitude, and type are still
Those easily could be changed as well, though, right?
Yeah, not really.
No, so those are the consistencies involved with this sort of Um, okay, and then I mean, I keep thinking about like how this could start to replace my channel driver that I currently use. Um, just the rate of change, being able to control the rates, like I guess the frequency is the most key. Um, and then just being able to smoothly transition between those rates of
Yeah.
change.
So,
The one thing that I did notice is if I am, let's say, using abs time.seconds, and I'm at like, I don't know,
yeah,
five,
it's
50,000 seconds, and then I want to like change over to a normalized value, even at like depending on what other parameter it is, it could look really weird in the
yeah.
transition, which is a lot of the times why I just snap two as opposed to blending between the two. Just because I know that I can land a beat, I can land a transition on a beat way more efficiently than getting a transition to feel the way the music feels.
So, and that's like one of the projects I'm currently working on is where I'm just like basically using no more chops at all and do like all my transitioning completely with the tweener, which is basically what we're using here right now.
You're like the anti-toucher.
In a way, in a way.
It's like don't use the nodes.
Notes are for losers.
That's funny.
One. But I still use touch. I mean, there's a reason for this, and this is like the possibility of a nice overview and having like this node flow still existing, but basically scripting everything. It's okay. OP LFO par.
I, I remember when we were talking when I came to visit, and you're just really into the development on this end, and it's always been a little bit over my head, but it's just seeing it work here is just so powerful. It's undeniable.
Like 0.5 maybe. Okay, so basically what I did now is let's check the parameters here. So now when I change the frequency to like 2,
Huh.
it like fades to this frequency in 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, okay, so but this is all use case scenarios, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, depending on the application or depending on like what you're trying to achieve, this will work, maybe 75-80% of the time.
Oh, it's definitely not something for every time, but it's
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty
so
nice.
and one of the things is, I mean, here it's not so interesting. And what instead you could do is you could use like a parameter chop here. Take the frequency, then use like a filter chop, chop, and then use a null here, and then
It's too many chops.
yeah. I mean, it's already 3 chops, and one of the really big problems with the filter chop is like it's fucking running all the time. It it really doesn't care, and that
Okay.
I find this especially when building my UIs right now is like when you compare it to a so when you take for example here to rectangle. So the rectangle sits there, it's not cooking, it like just takes up some like not even megabyte of space, and it's just like it's there, and that's okay. So now imagine you want to use like a let's use the container here. So let's use a panel shot as an example. And we want the inside. Okay, so, and I want to make a smooth transition of this rectangle when we are inside. So what you could do is you could feed it into the filter, and it's like already running. And now let's maybe use the fill alpha here. So, and you see now it's always running as
Also,
long as it's
also
as long as it's displayed. I mean, we can like, it looks nice and dandy. What we can do now is, of course, we can set the cook type here to selective. That's one way to go, but the filter will still be running all the time. So that's, yeah, that's, so, and what I found is just like use a panel execute, like this one here, just like this, and let's set the fill alpha here, let's set this down, use a panel execute, let's say inside, and let's just say on value change. Oops. So we just copy this line here. We say, yeah, okay, rectangle 1. Par dot fill alpha, and we want to set it to panel value with a camel case, and all of this in like 0.5 seconds. So what you get now is it's not running, you have no components running, and it's like, if you just compare it, okay, so the cook times are basically the same, and instead of like, well, yeah, like 3 chops,
constantly cooking nodes.
it's like pretty clear what's going on, and it will not change because of something.
Wow.
So, and with the tween I implemented another function which is like this relative tween, where you do not define an absolute time in which the value changes from A to B, because you see the problem is when I go in and like it fades out really slow, but with the relative tween in the tweener component, you can now really simply just say, okay, a speed of 1 unit per second, and this way it would like fade always consistent, independent. Oh yeah, what also comes together is like with the whole, because we can also what was it called? It was yeah. So we can say equal sign, please. And we can also just define another curve we're using. So now I'm using an S curve. which in general looks way smoother. And I think we can also use
And these are the same curves. You could make a custom curve to add.
So we also have this. No, we don't have it. So now it's like this, I think it's ease in. So we'll like start slow and then ramp up. And we can just like really easily adjust the timing. So now we say, okay, set it to. So and that's also something which is really hard to control with the filter chop. It's like, so it's really hard to now say, yeah, okay, I want it with this specific curve and.
I mean, you would just use like a lookup chop in a custom.
Yeah, but then you have like two more chops to just get like this simple fading up and down, and
it's very elegant.
That's the idea, basically.
I like it. Cool. Well, I think I need to take a deeper look at the create fade functionality and see where I can push it through.
Yeah. So
maybe I need to commission you for channel driver version 2.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, basically, you already have the basics for it. You have it already there, so.
That's true. Cool. Well, this has been a great insight to all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's like a good point to. I mean, it's already 3 hours in, and I have to get home basically, because tomorrow.
Back at it.
So.
Well, I'll be taking a vacation, but I'll be back to the touch world in a couple weeks after we make it from our move. So you'll be hearing from me.
You're moving to Ukraine, Croatia. Yeah, but for how long? Just like
the summer.
And then you're moving back to Italy, or what's the plan?
Only Corona knows, sir. Only Corona knows. We'll just play it by ear. But yeah, I'm thinking about maybe Berlin. Berlin could be a good place to come up for the fall. Just hang around and get into trouble.
I don't know if Berlin is the best place for coming in fall, because it's like really freaking depressing. It's like so a lot of people coming to Berlin, especially foreigners, are like they see Berlin because of like a summer vacation, and it's like, oh, you have like the parks, and you can get drugs everywhere, and you have all these open air raves, and then they're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to move to Berlin, and then they come in like November, or basically they come the next summer, and then they have settled, and it's like, yeah, and great summer, and then fall hits, and like if you survive your first winter without flying back to your home country, it's already a good sign, because it's like it's gray. It's like no snow, no sunshine. It's just like this. Really, it's a mess. It's like winter in Berlin is the worst. It's the worst.
I don't know if you remember, but I lived in Berlin for 3 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah, those are trying times.
So you're already past the.
I'm I'm past the initial
Yes.
stage, but I won't stay. I won't stay for another winter.
You won't.
No, we'll head to brighter, sunnier,
Yeah, I
warmer
mean you're
places.
from LA, so that's okay.
Uh, don't want to be there right now either. Anyways, hey man, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the tips, and stay well. And I'll stay in tune for the next rubber duck
Rubber duck
talk.
talk. And we say rubber duck, 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 duck. Yeah, I need like the intro of Ralph from Simpsons, who's just like
Oh
running
God.
around, and it's like duck, 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 duck. Okay.
It's time. It's time,
Yeah.
man. Too much computer talk. All right, man. Take care. Thanks again.
Goodbye.
See you guys.
Goodbye.